we're going to be talking about the 5 top best Invader Zim episodes.
Hi, this is Carrie, and if you don't know me, I like to share my passions such as art and pop culture.
So these episodes are basically my top favorite, so it's by my opinion. If anyone else doesn't agree, that's okay. This is just how I feel. I'm going to be talking about each episode, going to be reading the storyline, and then give my thoughts. If this is something you're interested in watching, then keep watching. So the first episode I'm going to be talking about is Attack of the Saucer Morons. This episode's really funny. Zim attempts to test some of Earth's defenses by taking his Voot out for a drive to monitor local police units. However, when a bumblebee collides with his view screen, Zim crashes down in the park. When Gur doesn't respond when he calls for him, Zim decides to go home and get his Voot the next day, using a recovery vehicle disguised as a giant floating pig. Yes, a pig. There's something about pigs in this show. It's so funny. Unfortunately, by the time Zim gets back to his ship, a group of people worship aliens known as Children of the Bright Shining Saucer have reached it first. Zim joins the group in hopes of stealing it back, but by the time he completes the initiation, his recovery vehicle, also the pig, has been found as well. Fed up, Zim tries to take the cruiser back by force, but accidentally blows his cover. The Saucer Morons capture him and hold him in a tent so they can worship him. Zim, being paranoid, is more worried about being dissected. So, you would think that he would want to be worshipped because he's like trying to take over the planet. But he's actually more paranoid about like being discovered and like dissected, experimented on, and stuff like that, which I can totally understand. He calls Gur and this time gets an answer. Gur disguises himself as an agent from the government and tells the Saucer Morons that Zim's ship and Zim were actually experimental government aircrafts. They start to believe him until Gur falls out of the suit. Gur and Zim escape on the pig, only to ride into a death beat and crash into another alien convention nearby. How they manage to escape is left unexplained as the episode ends. So the reason I chose this episode as one of my favorites because of that last scene. That last scene where they fly the pig and escape those weirdos. I just thought the creators put so much time into that scene as they're flying all over the place, going through obstacles and stuff. And then there was that last part where the bee knocks them down and Gur does this ongoing screaming, which is so funny. But yeah, that's why I like that episode, just because of that one scene. It was a pretty good story overall anyways. The next episode I'm going to be talking about is The Wetning. One day at school, it begins to rain, and Zim grows curious as it never rains on his home planet. He has never experienced it before. Dib takes notice of his caution towards the falling water and coaxes Zim into stepping out into the rain, only to discover that the Ergen race has an innate weakness to highly polluted downpour, which causes a burning sensation like acid upon impact. So I know it was confirmed that not all water does this, not the water in the air, because like if you breathe it, that's it, but like rain, water in the lake, stuff like that. Bib decides to exploit his newfound weakness, thus by using water as a weapon to stop Zim for once and for all. But Zim finds a way to protect himself with this new threat. After testing some paste collected from school, Zim discovers that if he bathes in it, water no longer affects him. So I'm talking paste as in glue that you use for crafting. Over the weekend, Dib and Zim prepare themselves for an episode Showdown on Monday. Dib shows up with a water balloon launcher, and Zim shows up with nothing. Instead, stands there, cowering on the spot, apparently too afraid to move or speak. When Dib fires his first water balloon, it flies through Zim, revealing him to be a hologram. So all the other kids are like at the school, outside the school, like just watching and wondering, like, what's going on, who's watching the show, what's gonna happen. The real Zim is actually in orbit of the planet above a giant space station. Zim then proceeds to drain all the water from the city and uses it to build a giant water balloon. He targets Dib and realizes it, flooding the entire city and destroying Zim's house. So I like this episode. For one thing, it kind of shows one of his weaknesses, which I thought was really interesting. They actually did this in the movie Signs, which I think came out a year or two after the show was aired. So I think that's how they got the idea, but I don't know. If any of you guys know, let me know. Comment. Also, I really like how he was putting that giant balloon together and tying it in space. That was really cool. I just thought, oh, he's got that technology and he can do that. The next best episode is Invasion of the Idiot Dog Brain. When Zim's headquarters is having security problems while in the middle of him having a report to the tallest, Zim attempts to upgrade the security system and get the job over with. He decides to put Gur in charge of ensuring nothing goes wrong while he replaces the computer's AI, but when Gur surprisingly gets distracted, he causes the house to shut down along with himself. Zim soon discovers that Gur's brain has been uploaded into the central hub of the house, putting him in complete control over all the systems at the base. Gur does not put this to good use. However, trouble really ensues that the robot develops a craving for tacos and burritos, causing him to detach his new body from the base and transforming the house into a giant quadrupled form, proceeding the rampage through the city on its ways to the crazy taco. This almost makes you think of kind of like Smart House, like everything goes crazy with the house. I mean, obviously the house didn't move in Smart House, but he's making everything go out of control. After everything is back to normal, Zim contacts the tallest to give them his report, telling them that things were even more normal now than they ever were. So I think this is a very iconic episode. It's actually, I think, the second episode where Gur has a big role in the show. I think it's very iconic how he takes over the house and he doesn't listen to Zim and he wants to get tacos and Zim just freaks out, and I just think it's very funny and very classic episode. The next episode I'm going to be talking about is A Room with a Moose. I am obsessed with this episode, and I'm going to tell you why. When Zim plans to get revenge on his schoolmates, especially Dib, he tricks them all into thinking they are going on a field trip. I love it. Dib, however, soon realizes that the driver of the bus isn't real and quickly discovers Zim's plan, but due to his constant annoying theories, the other students disagree with his warnings. Zim glows about his awesome plan and informs Dib of every detail in confidence that Dib can do nothing to stop him, though Dib refuses to give up. So it's really funny how I like how the whole class goes on the bus and they're in this trap and no one believes it, no one actually realizes it except for Dib, and it's kind of sad, but they kind of just treat him like an outcast. He still does his best to reveals that he has launched the bus into a wormhole, transferring to an undisclosed location. Zim reveals 3 locations, the first being a universe filled with very itchy gas, the second being filled with pure dookie, and the last being Zim's chosen destination, a room with a moose. Dib proceeds to use his computer and determines that the wormhole will fork outward with the left path going to the room with the moose and the right going to Earth. Dib theories that if the children were to sit on the right side of the bus, then their combined weight could be enough to shift the bus off direction and back to the children. The other children refuse to sit on the right side of the bus as they would be sitting on the side of Dib is sitting on, which again is sad that they treat him like this. With only seconds left, Dib moves to the left side, prompting his grumbling classmates to migrate to the right, finally causing the bus to shift to the right, back to Earth. Upon returning to school, the school children complain about their stupid field trip. Well, Zim celebrates his victory. Angry watching from his base, Zim has a small temper tantrum. Anger gleefully mimics his actions until Zim leaves. So as I said, the kids weren't listening. Everything looked kind of normal to them. You know, they were passing this dog, which was really funny, and they kept saying, "Oh, I love the dog," you know, but it was like saying, you know, we passed that dog like a million times, and they don't care. They're actually in space, and they go through a wormhole, as I said. I actually learned a lot about wormholes just from watching this episode. I also learned that a moose does eat walnuts, which I didn't know before. The moose in a room with a moose eating walnuts is very irritating, which is why Zim chose that destination, which makes the whole idea funny. I love this whole plan that he put together, getting revenge on them, you know, treating him like that, and Dib, and just, you know, putting all that effort, and then he fails, which makes it funny. But yeah, classic episode to me. I absolutely love it. And the last episode I decided to talk about is Abducted. As Zim is talking to the Almighty Tallest, Zim sends Gur to see who's at the door before continuing to talk to them, and lets two people in that are their new neighbors. When the transmission with his leaders is cut short, he goes up to investigate and meets the strangers in the living room who claim to be humans, but Zim isn't fooled by their disguises, or they're even worse than his. He attempts to tell them that their spaceship is jamming his signal. They respond by putting him and Gur in a sack and taking them to their spaceship, which is so funny, a sack. However, their new aliens quickly turn out to be very stupid. After they think that Zim's human, even after he took his disguise off, and does the same with Gur and plans to fuse Zim into another human, which is really taping a gopher to his head, Zim easily escapes the aliens and explores their ship. So, I thought the whole concept of him, like, trying to escape, and, like, this big spaceship, and him trying to escape, and the aliens being stupid, like typical stupid bad guys. It's nowhere, however, until he finds another captured being on the ship. The odd blob-like being tells Zim how all the other organisms escape, though a duct in the ceiling. Having no use appendages, the blob himself is unable to escape, so he tearfully asks him if he would help him. By this time, however, the Urkin has already jumped through the duct, leaving the little alien to his fate. Zim finds the escape pod room, calls for Gur, and the two escape. Basically, these aliens are really stupid. They're always arguing with each other, and Zim's like in the background trying to escape, you know, and he eventually does. What's really funny about this episode is that they're right above the house, so like the escape pod only took 1 second for them to get out. I also thought the music, the soundtrack of this episode was really great. Very epic, very sci-fi-ish. Of course, the whole soundtrack is, but this episode in particular has great score music. So check that out, you know, if you're interested in score music. Anyways, guys, that was my opinion on the top 5 best Invader Zim episodes. I want to apologize if me reading the storylines was kind of weird. I'm not the best reader, and I do like stutter a lot when I read out loud. One of the biggest struggles of mine. I hope I was clear enough for you guys. If it is like kind of an issue, just please comment below, and I'll find an easier way to like tell the storylines of episodes or whatever. Anyways, this is just the beginning of a series of this show. I have many more to talk about. If you guys have any requests on like what topic of the show you want me to bring up, please comment below. I really enjoyed talking about this. I hope you guys did too.
I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please feel free to subscribe. And if you do, I'll take you with me on my amazing adventures. Bye bye for now.